All right. All right. So here we notice we have some subjects too. Now, here we have less than or equal to. Here we have equal to. Here we have greater than or equal to. And so we have different things we have to do for each one of these. Now, this is our maximization of this objective function subject to those constraints. And again, all our x's have to be greater than or equal to 0. So first things first, let's convert this and say, okay, well, now we're going to have max p is equal to what? Well, it's going to be x1 plus 4x2 plus 2x3. And then I'm going to leave space to add some of those m times a sub k or whatever. And it's subject to what? Okay, well, we're going to have less than or equal to, we're going to add a slack variable. So we're going to have x2 plus x3 plus s1 equals 4. So we're converting that to an equals, and this one is a slack. So maybe we should say over here on the side, that's a slack variable. Now here, when we have equals to, we add an artificial variable. So here we're going to say, okay, well, that's going to be x1 minus x3 plus a1, and that's going to be equal to 6. And this is artificial. And I can't get all the letters right, but that's okay. Now, with that artificial variable, that means we're going to have to subtract off m a1 up here. So that artificial variable requires this. So those kind of go together. Now, the next one we have greater than or equal to. So guess what we have to do with that one? We have to add an artificial variable and a surplus variable. And so that's going to be x1 minus x2 minus x3. Now we subtract off the surplus. So that's going to be what? Well, this is S1, so this has to be S2. And then we're going to add in another artificial variable. So this one has to be then A2. And then that's going to be equal to what? 1. So we have a surplus and an artificial. Okay. And so if we add that artificial in here, we're going to have to subtract off m times a2 up here. And then we have what? We have x1, x2, x3. Now we have an a1, a2, and we have an s1 and an s2. And those all have to be greater than or equal to 0. So now we've got lots of different things in the bottom here that are going to be greater than equal to 0. So now we have to make our basically our preliminary tableau and see if it works or not. Well, I can already tell you it's not going to work because we have an artificial variable here, and they're probably going to line up with an m, and so they're not going to work. So let's go ahead and do this. And so what happens is basically this top thing is going to be a minus x1 minus 4x2 minus 2x3 plus ma1 plus ma2 plus p equals 0. So that's going to be the whole key for our initial kind of our setup. And so we can put all those things in plus that as our bottom row, and we should get our preliminary tableau. And so that gives us what? X1, X2, X3. Then we have S1. Let's just put them in order here. We put them in A1, S2, A2. Then we had a P, and then we'll have our line. And so we have what? For the first one, we have a 0, a 1, a 1, a 1. And then we have what? 0, 0, 0, 0. And then that's going to be a 4. And then we have a 1, a 0, a minus 1, a 0. And then we had the artificial variable we added, and then 0, 0, 0, and then a 6. And then we have a 1, a minus 1, a minus 1. Then we have a couple of zeros because we've already filled those. Then we have a minus 1 and a 1 and a 0, and then that was equal to 1. And then we have our bottom row, which now is a -1, a -4, a -2, then a 0, and then an M, and a 0, and an M, and then a 1, and a 0. All right. So the artificial variable 1 and 2 all have m under them, and so we have to get rid of those first. So we're not pivoting, remember. All we're doing is we're getting rid of those m's. And so to do that, we're going to say, well, let's start with, how about, let's get rid of this one first. So we're going to take minus m row 2 plus row, what is that, 4? And it's not 4, it's 1. Is it 4? Yeah, it's 4. And that's going to be our new row 4. Okay. So let's see. Let's go ahead and I'm not putting anything over here because we don't have our basic variables or non-basic variables set up yet. And so let's go to the next one. And so now let's see if we can get this at the top here. So we have x1, x2, x3, s1, a1, then s2, a2, p, and then we had what, a 0, a 1, a 1, a 1, then all zeros, and then we had our 4, and then we had a 1, a 0, a -1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 6. Then we had a 1, -1, -1, 0, 0, -1, 1, 0, and a 1. And then our bottom row is when we took minus m times that row plus that. So that was a minus m minus 1. That's going to be a minus 4. That's going to be m minus 2, 0, 0, 0, m 1. And then that's going to be a minus 6m. Now we have to get rid of this one. And so what are we going to do? We're going to take a minus m row 3 plus row 4 is going to be our new what? Row 4. All right, so since we're just going to line up, I'm just going to keep this here. And so then that gives us what? That's going to give us 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. Now I better make sure I have the right number of zeros here. And then that's a 4. Then we have a 1, a 0, a minus 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 6. And we have 1, minus 1, minus 1, 0, 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 1. And then minus this plus this, so minus m minus that, so that's going to be what? Minus 2m minus 1. And that's going to be a m minus 4. And that's going to be a minus m. Let's see where we have. Now, did I write all that right here? Do, 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 do. All right, so that's going to be a plus m, and then that's going to be 2m plus 2. Okay, so yeah, so 2m plus, minus 2 rather. The m's are positive, the n negative, so minus 2. That's going to be 0, and then we'll have a 0, and then minus a minus is plus, so that's going to be a positive m. That's going to be 0. That's going to be a 1. That's going to be a minus plus that minus is going to be a 7m. Okay. Now, let's see here. We have at this point we have what? We have S1 is 4, A2 is 6, that's an A1, S2, sorry. A2 is the 1, and then a P is a negative 7m. So that all works. There's no m's with the A columns. And so I think what we can do is we can use this tableau as our initial tableau. So what does that mean? So S1 is going to be 4. This one was what? A1. This one was A2. And this one was P. And so now that's what our tableau is. So maybe since we're actually going to use this, we better write everything up here. And so that is what we're going to do. So now which one is the most negative? All right, so this is a huge positive. That's huge positive. So it must be this one is going to be our most negative. And so now our quotient is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 4 divided by the first one. Well, 0. So that one doesn't work. So we're not even going to do that one. Then we'll have 6 divided by 1 and 1 divided by 1. So this one looks to be the smallest. And so our pivot column is going to be right here. All right, not a problem. Let's now figure out what we have to do. Well, that's a 0, so now we just have to take a minus 1, 2, 3, row 3 plus row 2 goes to row 2. And here we have to take the opposite signs of that. So we're going to take a 2m plus 1 times row 3 plus row 4, and that's going to be our new row 4. And that should give us 0, a 0, and a 0. All right, so let's go to that one. All right, so let's also say what was entering and exiting. So the x1 is going to enter, and our a2 was going to exit. So it's S1, A1, X1. So it's going to be S1, A1, X1, P. and then we had x1, x2, x3, and then we had s1, a1, s2, a2, p, and so now we should be good. So top row doesn't change. So that's going to be a 0, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, a 0, and then a 4. Next one shouldn't it should change. It was taking that and then minus that basically. And so we get what? That's gonna be where'd my pen go? Hello. Oh, there it is. All right, gonna be 0. That'll be 1, 0, 0. That's 1, 1, minus 1, 0. And that'll give us 5. Then we have 1, minus 1, minus 1, 0, 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 1. And then we had the 2m plus 1 times that row plus this row. And so that's going to give us a 0. And that's going to be a minus m minus 5, it looks like. And that's going to give us what? Minus 3. It's going to be a 0. And it's going to be a 0. It's going to be a minus m minus 1. It's going to be a 2m plus 1. It's going to be a 1. And we add all that together, it's going to be what? Minus 5m plus 1. Okay. All right, so which one is the most negative? Okay, well, we've got a negative 3. We've got huge negatives here. This one subtracts 4 more than this one. So it appears this one is the most negative. Now, this one we're not going to use, obviously, because we have a negative there. So we won't look at the last one. So we just have 4, and that one's going to be a 5 divided by 1. So that's a 5, that's a 4. So it looks like that's the smallest. And so going with that one, we will have this is going to be our pivot point. Now, if that is a pivot point, we're going to take a minus row 1 plus row 2 goes to the row 2. We're going to take wait a minute here, go back. We're going to take row 1 plus row 3. That's going to be our new row 3. And we're going to take what? M plus 5 times row 1 plus row 4. And that's going to be our new row 4. All right. So as you see, a lot of these, it's just the same kind of things we've been doing, but now we have things with M in them. So that's the only differences. We have to consider what do we have to multiply to get rid of those M's. All right, so this one enters and this one exits. So now it's going to be what? X2, A1, X1, P. Then we have X1, X2, X3, S1, A1, S2, A2, P, and a straight line. And so first row, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4. And then minus that plus that's going to be 0, and then a 0, minus 1, minus 1, 1, 1, minus 1, 0, and that's going to be just a 1. And that goes and just adding them together 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, minus 1, and then a 1, and then a 0, and then that's going to be a 5. Now, m plus 1 times that is going to give us, whoa, wait a minute. That's a 0. That's going to give us 0. And that's going to be m plus 5 minus 3, so that's going to be m plus 2. And that's going to be m plus 5. That's going to be a 0. That's going to be what? Minus m minus 1. That's going to be 2m plus 1. It's just going to be still be a 1. And then that's going to be 4m minus, it's going to be a minus m plus 21. Okay. Now, looking at the bottom, do we have any negatives? Yeah, we have a negative here. So that looks to be the biggest because that's a positive, positive, positive. And so now the only one it can be is this one here because that's a 0, that's a negative 1. So there's no quotients we really have to do. We just have to do that. And so that means we're just going to take row 2 plus row 3 is a new row 3. And we're going to take a m plus 1 times row 2 plus row 4 goes to row 4. All right. Do I have room on the next page? Okay, said. All right. So, with that said, what enters and what exits? So now this is entering, and this one is exiting. And so let's see here. Let's write on the next page so we know that we have x2, s2, I think it was, right? Yeah, s2. And then we had x1, and then we had a p. Now we have x1, x2, x3, and then we had s1, a1, s2, a2, p. And so now with that one, we have 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4. Then we had that row stayed the same. That row we did that, so that's gonna be what? 1, 0, minus 1, and then it's gonna be a 0, that's gonna be a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, and add those together, it looks like 6. Okay. And so then this one we took m plus 1 times that, so that's gonna be a 0, a 0, a 1, a 4, m plus 1, 0, m. What's that going to be? 1. And that's going to be 22 because it's subtract. Now, look, all positive. So we stop. And what does that tell us? Well, it says that the max P is equal to what? 22. And x1 equals what? 6. X2 equals 4. And x3 equals 0. And we have the S2 is equal to 1, so that was our surplus variable. So surplus is equal to 1, but this is really the solution to our problem. So, when we go back, said S2 is equal to 1, yeah. But, that's going to be down here. It's not going to have any effect up there. All the A's don't work and change anything. And so we should be good as far as that's going to be our solution. All right, so let's pause there.